Hello, welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. This is page 13 of the booklet we're working with, entitled Kamatthana. It's available as an ebook on this channel. You're welcome to download and read along or use it at your convenience. So we've just talked about the practice, sort of the foundation of beginning to practice the Dhamma. And now we're going to get a definition of how that practice might look to us or to an objective observer. On page 13, it is titled Four Modes of Practice. This first one may be recognizable to many of us. It says painful with sluggish direct knowledge. So there's discomfort. There certainly is as we learn to sit without moving for longer periods of time. And there's an emotional component of disappointment or frustration or a doubt, etc. So we have emotional doubts and feelings, and we have physical discomfort, and we're not getting what we want as fast as we want. So it's painful with a sluggish direct knowledge. Second one is painful with quick direct knowledge. So some people seem to be able to sit without the same level of physical pain or emotional distraction, and they get direct insight, direct wisdom, even though they experience some pain. The third one is pleasant with a sluggish direct knowledge. I've known people who could sit for quite long periods of time, and I would ask them, how do you sit so still for so long? And they've said, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that much. So there are those people, apparently. I was not one of them. But they also don't gain the insight that is essential to the practice. And the fourth form it takes is pleasant with quick direct knowledge. As in the secular world, some people just get it. Some people don't have to they get their homework done in half the time that the rest of us do. They just easily seem to study and pass for exams. Well, in the Dhamma world, there are also some students like that. There are stories from the time of the Buddha where a monk would just hear one sentence, one statement of the Buddha's teachings, and they would enter the stream. So we have to assume that they had karma that we don't have. We have to imagine that possibly they had been practicing different techniques or from different teachers for years, maybe decades. And then when the time was ripe, just hearing the pure truth of Buddha's teachings, they became liberated. It's also a form that the Japanese often talk about. There's just a sudden flash of insight. Seems to come out of nowhere, but we can be certain that either in past lives or in this life, they have practiced with patient perseverance. Says practice is a continuous awareness of the flow of our own consciousness and feelings. This is another way of talking about mindfulness. So the last talk, we talked about the sitting meditation is one kind of concentration, and mindfulness is another form of it. And I've known, frankly, so many people who are quite good at sitting meditation. They go to meditation retreats that last 10 or 20 or longer days, and they're very good at their concentration. But when they stand up and go to eat or go to the toilet or some other activity, they seem to have forgotten the mindfulness part of the practice. One who practices to develop the heart is the one who practices Buddhism. I've mentioned this several times now. We're going to find that Buddha repeats himself over and over and over from as many different angles as possible, hoping that somebody will catch it when the time is right for them. So in the Theravada tradition of forest monk, we talk about wisdom and liberation as a heart event, as we're trying to contrast it to the intellect, to knowledge that we have developed by being educated, having learned a skill, etc., maybe gotten degrees in higher education. This is not the way we will be successful in the practice of Dhamma. It's opening our heart as the seat of the Buddha mind. Says, here's some tips: eat little, sleep little, and speak little. I'm thinking of hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. It's similar to that. And in one of the first pages that we talked about, knowing the right amount, knowing when enough is enough. There are physiological, biological things that happen when we overeat. Obvious one is we get sleepy. There are cultures where that's what you do. You eat a nice big lunch and then you take a nap. So we need to avoid that as much as we can, because we certainly cannot be mindful when we're asleep. In the forest monk tradition, monks are encouraged to only sleep 4 hours. Lay people are encouraged to sleep about 6 hours. Of course, this would vary depending on the kind of work one does during their waking life. And certainly talking less has been seen as a virtue in almost every culture and every religion. People who can't control their talking are suffering from a kind of out of control life phenomena. So as we develop our conscious concentration, we develop our mindfulness, and we begin to notice maybe we don't need to talk quite so much. Everything and everyone is our practice. So this obviously is encouraging us to not resist or reject or deny events that occur to us in the world, in our day-to-day life. Difficult relationships in the family or in the workplace or with neighbors, virtually anywhere, should be used as a way to teach us something. Not something about them, but something about us. Flat tires on our car, or running out of gas, or forgetting to buy something at the grocery store, any number of events in our daily life should, to the degree that we have an emotional reaction to them, to that degree they have come as a teacher. So the impulse is to blame. The impulse is to criticize and think if that situation hadn't arisen, or if that person hadn't behaved or said or done something, then we would be at peace. This is delusion. Some people are able to say these troublesome situations, especially with people, are like angels coming to teach them something. The least we can say is every event should be observed mindfully with as much patience, forbearance, forgiveness, compassion as we're able to manifest in that moment. And if we take some event home with us and we're losing sleep over it, then there is something we haven't quite seen as clearly as we need to. The fear of suffering hobbles the mind. Dare to practice. So I mentioned before, we all want fast relief. We don't want to have a headache even for a minute. We don't want to be hungry or cold or wet or too hot. We just want life to be as comfortable and pleasurable as possible. When we're sitting for longer periods in our meditation, the number one cause that makes us stop is physical discomfort. So it's not usually something we're thinking about. It's usually the body is screaming at us, and all we know to do is run away. But there is a practice that will let us examine that suffering, emotional or physical, rather than look for an antidote, a form of aspirin or painkiller. We have the ability to confront our suffering and see what its nature actually is. When we do, we're going to see it's self-created. Even if someone else has done something painful, betrayed a trust or something, our reaction to it is the cause of our suffering. There is no alternative to total commitment. So, frankly, if our practice is like a hobby, we do it when it's convenient. We stop doing it when it's inconvenient or painful in some way. If we miss our appointed time to practice sitting meditation, then we haven't yet understood the effort, the energy level, or the power that we're going to need if we're going to break through our own delusion. This commitment doesn't come all at once. It comes by patiently practicing without finding excuses not to do it. So over time, there will be total commitment, or we will still be hanging on to something in the world. We're trying to straddle two worlds, a foot in the secular world and a foot on the path of Dhamma, and we're bound to fail. We're bound to lose our balance. We're bound to not have the success that we have been working towards. The practice of Dhamma is not by following our moods. Oh, that's a hard one. We're sitting some mood begins to overtake us, possibly a memory of some past experience, some trauma, some heartache, some betrayal, some failure, and maybe we cry, or maybe we just get up, and we don't want to stay there. We don't want to explore, examine, investigate the root of our sad, sorrowful memory, or what we might do to change our reaction to the past. So if we only practice when we're in the mood, we can be sure we will not be successful. The Dhamma cannot be reached by following our desires. In fact, the number one enemy we're going to be talking about later, there's 5 of them. The number one enemy that we have is our compulsion to want to get what we want. And it may present itself as a really worthwhile, a really good want, but even wanting to be liberated, wanting to be fully enlightened, is a desire at some point we will have to let go of. But there will be a multitude of desires before that we have to face, that we have to see. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how attached I was to having this thing, doing this thing the way I want, and I see that it's a cause of my suffering. The practice is difficult because of desires. So desires are the enemy, even when we can see them as a good desire. I won't give any examples. When we practice mindfulness, the mind is examining itself. It's sometimes the analogy is looking in the mirror. We can never see our face until we look in the mirror, or some reflective surface. So once we do that, we can, quote, see ourselves, you might say, as others see us, and we see ourselves as we are and not as we imagine ourselves to be. So when we practice self-awareness, we're actually entering into a place that we have never explored before. I don't mind using the word subconscious. I like the concept that there's a whole storage unit of emotions and desires and beliefs, likes and dislikes, etc., that we've never looked at. You might say we don't even know it's there. And as we meditate, our mind quiets and we become exposed to aspects of consciousness that we must become exposed to. We must shine a light on them. We must come to see them, or we can't be healed. We can't rely on our moods and our desires. Okay, I think we've covered that. Again, if we're only doing something when we feel like it, listen to yourself say, I don't feel like it. I don't want to. Okay, at least hear it. And if we don't hear the mind, we can't challenge it. We can't question it. And we certainly can't train it to train ourselves not to listen to certain ideas that arise in the mind as moods and desires. Everything becomes difficult because of our ambitions to have and achieve. Now we're talking about the Dhamma, and we might use examples from the secular world. We want to get a good education, or we want to get a better job, we want to get a promotion, we want to get a raise, maybe we want to get a spouse, or get a family, or get a new automobile, or I don't know, electronic toy, etc. The suffering arises when determined by how attached we are to the getting. We want our sports team to win, or we want the political party we vote for to win. We can tell how attached we are by the emotions we have when they don't. So we have to explore the inner portion of the mind that is not exposed to us, or it's exposed to us, but we make excuses for it. We defend it, and we don't learn anything. So until we can call our cravings and our desires by name, they will continue to masquerade as something better than they actually are. The extreme discomfort caused by constantly opposing the kilesa, that's what makes practice so difficult. But we must endure such torment. So the kilesas are the thoughts and emotions that we have, that we call mine. This is me. This is how I feel. This is what I want. This is what I believe. Now with mindfulness and meditation, we're challenging, first of all, whether they really are mine. We're challenging, where do they come from? Why do I identify with these? Do I make these thoughts? Do I create these emotions? Or do they arise from some source I'm not familiar with? Well, how is it that they arise and then they pass away? How come I'm not in the same mood all the time? If I'm the creator of my own moods, why don't I always be happy? Why don't I make sure that I'm never sad, that I'm always pleased and content and satisfied and grateful? So these kilesa are the enemy. They're constantly creating an identity that we acclaim, and in that moment we suffer. So there is no alternative that I am aware of. Certainly not taking various kinds of medications, legal or illegal, to avoid discomfort, to avoid any kind of displeasure or suffering. We must persevere, patiently persevere, to examine the mind, or we cannot be liberated from it. Death in battle with passions, to me, seems more honorable than a life of defeat. So that quote, whoever said it, said, the battle is worth the effort. It's honorable. It's honorable. It's virtuous to fight the fight. than to surrender to a sense of hopelessness, a sense of self-failure, a sense that it's just impossible, I can't do it, it's too hard. Then we not only lose the battle, we lose the war. Tapas is the purifying fire of meditative practice. So there's another saying, burning the karmic seeds. We know, of course, if we burn a seed, it will no longer be fertile. It won't grow into its DNA-determined self. So our meditation is essential to creating the intensity, the battle that will defeat these kilesa. Okay, we need this energy. We need this power that arises through the course of meditation to burn off the wrong understanding, the delusion, the wrong view, the wrong effort in our practice. Thank you. If you made it to the end here, appreciate it. If you'd like to share these teachings, if you got any benefit from them, please do press like and subscribe, and we'll hope and pray that others may stumble on this channel and also gain benefit. Hope to see or hear from you again. Thank you.